Yes, welcome back. This is Alfred Lambert Weber, and it's Exopolitics TV. We're welcoming back a gentleman here in Vancouver, BC. He wishes to remain anonymous and continues to remain anonymous. He reports that he's an extraterrestrial contactee, a hyperdimensional extraterrestrial contactee of the negative variety. And he's reported to us earlier on an earlier program. He has some updates, and he and I carry out a continual sort of dialogue, and I thought it important for him to come on with about a half-hour update. So please, yes, go ahead and welcome.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to return to the show because I continue to be under constant surveillance and attack by what I can only presume to be ETs. And what's happened of late is I've met some other people who are also under attack, and I've made a contact with someone else who is also has some very startling information in his own right, and we're all the victims of these microwave electromagnetic synthetic telepathy attacks, which can induce searing pain, squeezing sensations like your head's in a vice. My hair's going gray on the sides. I've seen my doctor. He's told me that I've suffered nerve damage under my scalp. They can also induce, like I said, the synthetic telepathy attacks in which you hear vocal commands which range from nonsense to very specific. And they're doing this to a lot of people who are known as targeted individuals, the majority of which I believe and my other contact strongly believes are mostly being targeted by ETs and not the government. So what's happened as of late is these beings have continually mixed lies with the truth, because they've said things to me which have come to pass and others which have not. But what they've told me, and what is being confirmed by another contact of mine who I don't want to mention at this time because he's asked me not to mention him, is that there's going to be some sort of presence in the coming weeks, months, or perhaps at the end of the year, and that this is in fact the real deal, and this is truly going to occur. And there'll be some sort of overt presence of very human-looking ETs. But what we want to caution people about is that these ETs, without a doubt, are the offspring and creation of the Greys, and are extremely human-looking in appearance. Some of them are very angelic in appearance, but they're all part of the same program, which is targeting people all over the world and eliminating people they don't want here when they arrive.
Now, let me ask you, and I and I really want to ask you these questions, not because I doubt your experiences. I believe that they're genuine, but because we've done a lot of work with experts, say, in the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment and others in the transhumanist agenda. And what you're describing fits the profile of the controllers in covert harassment, and that is the use of web bots and implants that are in the chemtrails that people breathe in, that go into the bloodstream, jump the blood-brain barrier, and then can be go into the brain, and then the person can be entrained into into microcomputers and into banks of supercomputers, and so that they can give you the sensation of being attacked by ETs. I've been in discussions with a targeted individual in Europe, and that person has actually gray ETs appear in their room, but they're holographic. And so this is part of the transhumanist agenda. These are human controllers that are creating holographic gray
Right.
ETs in their room, but it's the humans that are doing this.
Right.
It's not
Right.
extraterrestrial. So why do you say that they're negative ETs that are
Okay.
attacking you when it could be, it seems that you're fitting the profile of the New
Yeah.
World Order, a mind control transhumanist
Yeah,
agenda.
right. Well, yeah, I would answer that with three answers. The first would be that if in fact they do have this technology, the first thing I'd say, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious and apparent where it was given to, where the source of the technology came from. And
Right.
the second thing I would say is that the crossover between ET abduction and the TI is so uh, 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 is so similar and so parallel that it's hard to tell which one starts and the other begins, because the ET abductee has anomalous implants, bruising, like the TIs describe. They are attacked with synthetic telepathy attacks, commands by the vocalizations by the ET to, whatever it is the ET is instructing them to do, whether to go to a specific location or to not do a certain thing, whatever it is it might be. So there's a huge carryover there between the two. And the ETs themselves are shapeshifters, as we all know, so they can obviously take on a human appearance. So the crossover there is extremely strong. So I hear what you're saying, but from what I've heard from other people, some of the abilities of these technologies are so far beyond anything that we know exists that it's very, very hard to give anyone the benefit of the doubt that it's not something ET. And a lot of the targeted individual websites and the people running the sites have said within those websites clearly that the current technology that exists is not capable of reproducing these attacks. And the third thing I'd say is that if you refer to if we go really old school here and refer to the Nag Hammadi and to the Gnostic material regarding these Archon attacks, they like verbatim are extremely similar and parallel to what's happening right now with these TIs. So there's the overt abduction phenomenon right now, where the ETs make a physical appearance and perform some bizarre miscellaneous task with the human, maybe subjecting to a bizarre medical procedure or whatnot. You already know all this. But then there's this covert, very heavily secret mind control, electromagnetic warfare on people all over the world, and they're eliminating and killing innocent men, women, and children with these attacks. And I would also refer people to George Kavasilis, because he mentioned a global mind control event, and this very strongly, again, parallels what I'm describing here and what myself and another contact who is in the possession of extremely strong information regarding this, which would really just seal the deal in terms of where the majority of the attacks originate from. So it's very. I see what you're saying, but it's very clear to me and to him and to the other people who are having these experiences that it is ET. It fits the bill to a T.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is that from your experience, you
Yeah.
feel that there's a close collaboration or a kind of a coordination of a loose or sometimes a close nature between the negative ET operations,
Yeah.
maybe the negative grays, maybe the Draco reptilians behind them, and the transhumanist agenda, those who are involved from the
Yeah.
human point of view. That this is
Yeah.
a single operation, and sometimes, like in the military abductions, the MILABs, they may tend to overlap. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the ETs, as is would be, what would make common sense and would be obvious if they were involved, and they are involved. The ETs are running the whole show, and if there are military personnel and New World Order personnel who are involved in the TI attacks, they are, without a shadow of a doubt, the majority of them don't even know the extent to which they're being mind controlled themselves. So it's really the ETs are running the show here, and they're just eliminating people right now. I know of a woman who knows of children who are being microwaved in their sleep, and she says they've had experiences that are so off the scale, bizarre, that they couldn't be reproduced by any known technologies, and the children have seen the ETs in the room, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the ETs are definitely behind this, and history repeats itself, and this has happened before with the same type of attacks. I mean, it's in historical records, so it's happening again right now. And yeah, they've attempted to harm me so many times that I've lost count. A few weeks ago, I nearly lost consciousness in the shower, and almost hit me. I could have fallen on the floor, fallen unconscious, and that would have been it or whatnot. But thankfully, my family has been extremely supportive of me, and they're the ones my family's been keeping me alive. My parents and my sibling and my grandmother have been very supportive, and they're keeping me alive basically, because what they do with this is a total control of your life. And they've stated to me that they don't want people like myself here. They want people like myself eliminated or rendered catatonic or totally mind wiped. They don't want people like myself here because apparently what my other contact has said to me is that they will very human type looking ETs will make and some of them will obviously be quite angelic looking. They will attempt to deceive the public, and they'll come with a religion very similar to Hinduism. It won't be Hinduism, but it'll be very similar to that. And they will try to sway the public into a paradigm of thinking wherein one does not have to be forgiven. So there won't be any religion obviously involved in this. Religion will take a heavy hit. And they will try to, basically, for lack of a better word, try to sway people to the dark side. Okay? They'll try to have people live within a way of thinking, a paradigm of thinking wherein you don't have to live by stringent rules of any kind of morality or anything else that had been the pretext of a lot of religions. So this will cause a huge fracture within, as you can imagine, within society, and there'll be people who take sides, one side, and there'll be people who take another side. And if this happens, and he believes it will, and I believe it will from what I've seen and what I've heard, if this happens, it will literally be chaos for years if this occurs.
Well, this is very interesting because just within the last couple of weeks, two global figures in this area of development, both kind of the dual papacy. I call them Alphonse and Gaston. This is Pope Ratzinger and Pope Francis. Pope Ratzinger and Pope Bergoglio, both of whom apparently are active. They're kind of the yin pope and the yang pope, or the inside pope and the outside pope. Both of them have made public statements about the ET activity, and Pope Ratzinger was on German television just this past week talking about the ET agenda, and Pope Francis said, hey, I'm going to baptize Martians if they come here.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that.
Yeah, right. So setting up that thought form, and people are saying that, quote, they're setting up this agenda, and and Pope Bergoglio, Francis, a Jesuit, and of course the Jesuit head of the Vatican Observatory was the one who came out about a year ago and broke the ET story.
Yeah.
And so they're now, and this has been seen in a very skeptical light because of the Petros Romanus kind of thought, namely that this is all part of bringing in these I call them treaty extraterrestrials because they're part of the secret treaties first signed under the Roosevelt administration in the mid-30s, and with the Nazi administration in the 30s also, with the negative grays. And
yeah, we have to get back to the Nazis too after you finish.
Yeah. So that they have these treaties that have been renewed every 10 years, And so I call them treaty ETs with the grays. And so what you're saying is that now they're producing these human-like ETs, which are offspring of the grays, but which are really treaty ETs. So they're coming in to fulfill both a Nazi, and Roosevelt was a Mason. So it's kind of a New World Order Nazi Third Reich, Fourth Reich
Oh, yeah,
agenda. Is that what the
yeah,
grays are telling you?
yeah. Well, that's what they're telling me, and that's what I've learned from my other from several contacts, and one in particular, who is the real deal with his information. They're telling me that, and as far as I know, from what he said, also, and what I've observed, is the hybrid, their offspring hybrid ETs, the very human-looking ETs, are already here, and they've been here for decades, walking in public, acclimating themselves to the environment and to the people, in an attempt to see how well they blend in and whatnot. And this will all, like I've said, head to some sort of event sometime, perhaps in the following weeks, months, at the end of the year, something like that, wherein this is made public. This will become publicly known. But what you were getting at with the Pope is very interesting, because, like you said, I don't think it's a coincidence that he happened to bring that up, and I wouldn't be surprised if the ETs were using the scalar wave mind control on people within the Vatican to have them release this kind of information in a time frame that fits their agenda. So that's very, like you say, that's very interesting. And the other component of this is the supposedly benevolent and neutral groups, which may show up at the same time, that will profess to have our best interests at heart, and will also have, mind-bending alien philosophies and paradigms and ways of thinking, will attempt to sway people into their ways of thinking. But people have to be very cautious, because these are the same ETs that have failed to contact people down here en masse and give them very critical information regarding these electromagnetic attacks, how to cope with them, and specific, detailed, critical information regarding them. Because a lot of people who are being attacked with these synthetic telepathy attacks begin to hear nonsense, or they begin to hear very specific vocal commands that are basically a product of an artificial intelligence, which downloads the person's memories, personality type, and jumbles it into a program in which the person is, their own fears are used against them. A lot of these people end up going out and hurting or even killing other people, falsely believing that those people are attacking them, when in fact the people who are attacking them cannot be reached. So these benevolent or neutral groups have failed to even do that. So they're going to show up there, and I'm not sure what their reasoning would be for not having done that, but I'm guessing that they're going to come with the philosophy that, again, we don't have to be forgiven. So there'll be some sort of very obvious collaboration between the negative, supposedly neutral, and supposedly benevolent groups. So we're looking at a real mess here. It looks to be like, well, from what I've seen, if this happens around the end of the year, or perhaps sooner than that, it'll be one heck of a mess, and there'll be a lot of angry people, because a lot of lives could have been saved, including children.
Well, just to really step back and
Yeah, sure.
kind of ease this out,
Yeah, sure.
we're going through a particularly intense period, which has been
Yeah.
signaled by the 4 tetralunar eclipses from
Mhm.
April 15th, 2014, through the autumn, the fall of 2015, and beyond. So, say that the next couple of 2 or 3 years may be a very intense time. But what you're pointing out is that the struggle is a very intense one at the level of the soul, because isn't it really capturing the souls that the negative ETs are about?
Oh, yep, it's 100% that. There's so much to cover that I didn't even want to necessarily venture into that, because, like I said, we'll keep it to half an hour, because I'm under
Yeah.
heavy attack from these things on a regular basis. They came into my I had an attack a few days ago, and they were sort of in a not so subtle way, told me not to, pursue this. But yeah, they feed off the soul energy by means of making, obviously, the victims suffer in the most horrendous ways you can imagine. And of course, this covert electromagnetic attacks are very covert, and most of the victims have no idea what the source is. They're just in a lot of pain, and they're feeding off of this through scalar waves. So they can feed off the person's bioelectric field and their soul energy. So it's precisely what you're saying. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so that, but really, we can, as a collective of human souls, we can, first of all, defend ourselves, and secondly, pull through by being conscious and rely on our soul power.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. People see the movies and they read the books and they whatnot, and it's true. It remains true regardless of how many times you hear it. If you think with your heart, I know that sounds kind of strange maybe to some people, but if you think through the heart, you'll probably make it through this with flying colors. So yeah, you're totally right. It's a war of for souls. People with strong soul energy are being attacked, and it's not people who are necessarily down in the dumps and who are necessarily vulnerable. It's very strong people are being attacked too right now. It runs the whole gauntlet.
Well, I'm looking at another side of things, and that is that there's a whole community of ultra dimensional. Hyperdimensional civilizations, which are in contact with a lot of crystal kids and a lot of the indigos, and they are quite positive. For example, there's a colleague of mine in Australia, Mary Rodwell, who's in contact with. She's over 2,000 contacts, and they go up into the ships, and they're talking about a global shift, probably more in the area of 2017, where human consciousness is really going to shift toward the positive. And so this is probably that area, 2017, 2014, 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
that is known as, quote, Armageddon. And Armageddon is really within. It's a battle at the soul level. I'm just trying to reframe things here.
Yeah,
What
no,
do you
I see
think
what you're
about
getting
that?
at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think
I
about
think
that?
there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. Yeah, what they're doing is they're simulating the Book of Revelations.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We're heading into we're soon to be in the tribulation. And like you said, they're meeting with the indigo children and whatnot. But that whole thing is so insidious that that whole discussion there with involving the children is a conversation in its own right.
Yeah.
But this whole thing is extremely sadistic, and it's extremely it's very similar to what occurred during Nazi Germany. And it's like a second Holocaust, but it's silent because the people being attacked have no idea what the source is, and there's a lot of, like I say, there's this silence because they have no one. A lot of these people have no one to turn to, who would who'd take them seriously, and that's the bottom line. Yeah.
Right. Now we're just coming to the end of the segment here. So do you have any factual reports that you want to make that you haven't done so far, or do you have any words that you want to leave our audience with?
Well, I like I say, I would like, again, this is sort of a warning to people, and this is also sort of a cautionary tale for people who may in the future succumb to manipulative programs or so-called learnings or lessons from ETs, when in fact they most likely do not need them. That these ETs that will show up are in fact in collaboration with the Greys and are the offspring of the Greys, who are targeting people and killing innocent people all over the world. and they will show up with the most deceitful program you could possibly imagine. They may have ascended masters with them who are not ascended masters, obviously, and then of course they'll most likely be the appearance of these other groups, the supposedly benevolent and neutral groups, who in turn will also have some sort of manipulative program, but they also have failed to inform people or to warn people of very basic information on mass. So I would say that we're looking at a total deception here on a level that's never been seen before, and I would this is a warning to people to not fall for it, and that none of these ETs have our best interests at heart, and frankly we don't need them as a species. We don't need them to evolve. So they're totally unnecessary. It's like a foreign body. And I would say that the fact that I am able to deliver this message to you to me is in its own right almost a miracle, because they have attempted to kill me several times. So I'm very thankful to you that I'm able to express this and get this out, because I believe in the very near future, most likely this year, there will be some sort of overt contact.
Well, we'll see, and
Yep.
because time tends to shift,
Yep.
and with consciousness, but we're very, very grateful for you to come forward. We send you a lot of light and safety in your journeys, and we anytime that you would like to come back from time to time and give us updates on what's occurring, you're certainly most welcome.
Thank you so much. I couldn't appreciate it more. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.